Coming up.
Shut up and let me talk.
Well, I wasn't going to say a word.
You've listened to this podcast, right?
How do you say that?
Dolly Dimples, I was thinking, but Dolly Daydream, I'll go for.
What a tart.
I put my mouth in a different configuration.
And they wanted my accent.
You do a good old woman, actually.
You would want the hooded crone in the cave.
Practicing.
Can you be a bit less Lancashire?
I've undergiven them what I should have given them.
She's upset now.
If in doubt, I channel Julie Walters.
It took you off on a whole different trajectory.
So I'm a bit disappointed this year.
You began to extemporise around her, which I really liked.
We're going to have to do that again.
And now, enjoy the podcast.
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that?
How do you say that? Hello and welcome to How Do You Say That, sponsored by BritishVoiceover.co.uk. Over there is my co-host Samantha Boffin.
Hello, and this is my co-host Mark Rice.
Hello, and if you've never tuned in before, this is what the podcast is all about. Tell them, Sam.
Every week, we invite a special guest on the show. We bring a script, they bring a script, and we all get to give them both a read, proving that there isn't just one way to read a script. There are lots of ways. There are at least three, anyway.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. That's How Do You Say That in a nutshell. And we also play True or False. So, Sam, I love daffodils, and right now they're all out in my garden like a carpet of yellow. True or false?
I think it's early. So I'm going to say false.
It is false. I do love daffodils, but they are not out yet. You're absolutely right. Actually, this time last year, they were all out. So I'm a bit disappointed this year.
It's late, isn't it? I've been feeling that.
Yeah,
I've been feeling that.
Boo-hoo.
So, Mark.
Yes.
My nickname as a little girl was Dolly. Oh. Is that true or false?
As in Dolly Daydream.
Dolly Dimples, I was thinking.
Dolly
Daydream, I'll go for it.
I love it. I hope it's true, but I'm going to go false as well.
It is false. It was my grandmother's nickname, actually.
Oh, fascinating.
We all used to call her Dolly, but she was Dolly Dimples, not Dolly Daydream. But that's another thing altogether, really.
I love that. Well, let's welcome our special guest, voiceover Victoria Riley. Hello, Vic.
Hello there.
How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem
it's
at all.
a
You're
pleasure.
more than welcome. Sam, let's find out a bit more about Vic, shall we?
Yes, Vic is an Essex-based voice actor with a lovely Lancastrian, I was going to say. Is that right?
Yeah,
A lovely
Lancastrian's fine,
Lancastrian
yeah.
accent. Yes, absolutely. So originally from near Blackburn, she moved to London to go to drama school, and she hasn't quite found her way back home yet.
Indeed.
Having worked in corporate voiceover, audiobooks and radio imaging for years, she is now going back to her actor roots with more focus on character work in animation and gaming.
Well, Vic loves animals, especially her big, beautiful rescue dog, Ringo. When she's not in the studio, she and Ringo can usually be found roaming Epping Forest and foraging for berries. Wow. So, Vic, what's your fun fact?
Oh, my fun fact. Yes, well, I have slept in well over 100 beds in London.
Wow. What? Hotels or people's houses?
No, people's houses, yes.
Oh.
What a tart. No, I was...
But I wasn't going to say a word. Not a word.
So basically because when I was a starving actress, in-vision actress, as they say, I was a professional pet sitter.
Oh.
Yeah, so I used to cycle around everywhere. And I used to sleep in different people's houses. So looking after their dogs and cats and rabbits and geckos and things. But it's great because it means that I had lots of repeat customers as well. And it means that I've sort of lived in lots and lots of different areas all around London.
Well, on that furry geographical around London note, let's have a look at the first script of our show and ask, how do you say that?
How do you say that?
So, Vic, tell us a little bit about the script that you've bought today.
So this is for a health service. So it's an explainer video, an animated video. So I had to do it to subtitles, basically. So the animation had already been created.
Right.
So I didn't have complete freedom when voicing it because I had to do it very specifically to the subtitles that were already on screen.
Now,
Oh, wow,
was it difficult
okay.
for timing because of that?
It wasn't the worst one I've done like that.
She says diplomatically. I've had worse.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, sometimes you get these ones where, they'll give you like 10 seconds to say 2 words.
Oh,
and
I
then
know.
they'll give you 2 seconds to say 20 words.
20 words,
Yeah.
yes. We've all been there.
But this one, it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it looks fairly straightforward. Presumably mums and dads being the audience
Yes, exactly.
rather than health professionals.
Yes, exactly. Yes. This is for the health professionals to show to parents.
Okay, so it's a bit more down to earth, I guess, with young parents being overwhelmed by everything anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also worried parents, because it is about children potentially getting sick.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
a somewhat more caring read.
Basically, they just wanted a sort of warm, mumsy kind of read.
Okay.
Very empathetic and kind. And they wanted my accent.
Yes.
Yeah, of course they did.
Yeah.
Do I have to do your accent, or are you going to...
I won't inflict that on you.
You've got such a beautiful Lancashire burr. I wish I could do it perfectly. Absolutely. Sam, do you want to go first? Because
Yes.
you do this kind of thing beautifully, I think.
Ooh, I'm not sure I do, but I'll have a go.
I should just say they wanted it quite snappy as well, quite quick.
Okay.
Okay. When your baby or child is unwell, it's a really worrying time. Sometimes it can be hard to know what to do, but it's important to trust your instincts and get the right help. Strep A is a common type of bacteria that's found on the skin and in the throat. Most Strep A infections are mild and easily treated. Scarlet fever is caused by Strep A. It's usually a mild illness that's highly infectious. It causes a distinctive pink-red rash and flu-like symptoms, and it's treated with antibiotics.
I thought that was very friendly, and that's, I guess, what they're looking for as well, isn't it, Vic?
I thought it was lovely. Something I did notice, though, was that you contracted words,
did.
which I don't think that would be acceptable for subtitles, would it?
Oh, if the subtitle says it is, yes, you're probably right.
Okay, yes. I was sort of thinking that it needed to sound conversational. I was worried that it would sound a little formal.
Yeah.
That is found on the skin, but yeah, I'm not sure.
That's an
actually.
interesting one, yes, because you might be hampered by what they've actually put on the screen.
Exactly, yeah.
Ah.
Or at least I felt hampered anyway. Maybe I should
Yeah.
have asked the question.
Sam's read was lovely because actually it worked with a contraction, but if you're saying you're not allowed the contraction, it's working around that, isn't it? But we got the right kind of friendliness and warmth and everything.
Oh,
and as a
but-
parent, I don't think I would have panicked off the back of that.
Oh, no, it's
which is the point.
very warm, very empathetic, yes, and very reassuring, because it had
Yes.
a certain amount of gravitas to it as well.
I wonder if I'll be able to bring any of that warmth or gravitas
You
or anything
will.
to well, let's have a look. Let's have a go then, shall I? When your baby or child is unwell, it is a really worrying time. Sometimes it can be hard to know what to do, but it's important to trust your instincts and get the right help. Strep A is a common type of bacteria that is found on the skin and in the throat. Most Strep A infections are mild and easily treated. Scarlet fever is caused by Strep A. It is usually a mild illness that is highly infectious. It causes a distinctive pink-red rash and flu-like symptoms and is treated with antibiotics.
I thought that was lovely, and in actual fact, it's almost exactly what I did myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
I'm going to take a win. I'm going to take a win this week.
Yes, win.
It was almost like listening to my own take on it, done in a different
That's
voice.
amazing. Wow.
I'm pleased you said that because I worried that in the third paragraph I'd gone a touch informational.
Oh, no, I didn't pick up on that.
It was a very non-corporate read, in fact, from you, actually, I thought.
Practicing.
Practice. No.
Practice makes perfect, right?
Well done, Mark.
Well, I'm interested to see. I want to hear it in the wonderful Lancashire burr now because I
Yes.
fully understand why they came to you and what they wanted, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh heck. When your baby or child is unwell, it is a really worrying time. Sometimes it can be hard to know what to do, but it's important to trust your instincts and get the right help. Strep A is a common type of bacteria that is found on the skin and in the throat. Most Strep A infections are mild and easily treated. Scarlet fever is caused by Strep A. It is usually a mild illness that is highly infectious. It causes a distinctive pink-red rash and flu-like symptoms and is treated with antibiotics.
Yeah. Nice.
Warm. You didn't lean as far into the Lancashire as I thought you were going to after you said that.
Well, yeah. Well, I think they were looking for a mild northernness.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite rare, really, that I'm asked to do full-on Lancashire.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But you're often asked to do a light Lancashire.
I find that so sad because it's such a beautiful accent.
Thank you. And in actual fact, sometimes people will ask me for broad Lancashire, and then I send them the file, and they'll come back and say, "Yeah, can you be a bit less Lancashire?"
Not that broad.
Yeah, we didn't mean that.
Fair.
Do they often ask you to do a soft Lancashire, though?
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
it's mostly soft, yeah. The only
mostly
time
soft.
that I would really be doing a broad Lancashire, I think, would be for character work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is something that came up. I went to a fantastic talk that Noni Lewis did about embracing your accent, and she talked about an accent-ometer. And it's something that when you have an accent, you have to be aware of, that people think they want your accent, but how much of that accent do they really want? You know, do you want it low on the accent-ometer, or are we really going full on? Because, it's not, the default accent, I feel, is usually in people's minds is RP. And then when they think they want an accent, how far they really want to go with it is another question.
Would you be able to do a demo for someone and they go, I want really hard Lancashire, I want mid Lancashire, I want mild Lancashire, so I can send it to someone and see what they think?
Yes.
Interesting.
But I mean, really broad Lancashire, you'd be going into dialect.
Yes.
Which is wonderful to go there, because that's how my grandparents spoke.
Yeah.
That's rarely asked for.
Play, how do you say that? Well, it's worthwhile remembering that these are real scripts we're working on, but we've changed the names and some details to avoid copyright issues, and you can find both the scripts we're using today in the show notes of this episode.
Yes, you absolutely can. So this is a script that I did fairly recently.
Okay.
I know it's foxed you already.
I asked Sam
Mark.
before we started recording, is it a documentary? Because I hope it isn't.
Yes, what is it?
What can you tell us?
It's part of a game.
Good. I'm pleased about that.
Yes, it's definitely not a documentary.
So it's more characterful.
I was staggered, actually, that you thought it was a documentary, looking at the...
I didn't when I first read it, and then I thought, God,
yeah.
what if it is?
Well, she's sort of in the middle. She's not particularly high status, but she's definitely not low status either.
Right.
But she's somebody that the player wants to interact with to get some very specific advice and information. She can give information about the world.
Ooh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Any particular accents or age or
No.
anything? That
Well, age, she's probably thousands of years old. But,
okay.
accent-wise, no. Anything you like, to be perfectly honest.
But I've got some ideas, I think. Oh.
Good.
It's whether I go too far with it. That's the question. Let's see if I can bring it into some kind of reality.
Oh, I have a wonderful tendency to over-egg the pudding, Mark. So
Me too.
just you wait.
You've listened to this podcast, right?
It's half the fun.
Let's give it a go. Let's see what we get then. In a different time, when words were lit with lightning and history was carved from magic, there was a far-off land where stood a monument, a divine statue, golden and strange. At first glance, it seemed to be on the edge of a burial ground, guarding sarcophagi and long-forgotten tombs. But beneath it, there were no bodies to discover, no cadavers, no skulls, not a single bone.
That was fun.
We weren't expecting that, Mark Rice.
Okay. In a
I
good way
loved
or a
it.
bad way?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you think, Vic?
Well, for some reason, I was still, maybe because I was thinking of what my own read would be, I was very much envisaging you being a woman, like an old woman, wearing a hood in a cave.
Fair.
Yes, absolutely. Sort of like the Don't Look Now
Yeah.
exception on Old Woman's Watch.
I felt a touch sexless, but it's like...
Yes. Well, you did good, old lady. I know what it was. I know in my mind it was the old lady that Snow White's queen turns into.
Yes.
With the apple.
Yes.
And the
yes.
staff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I put my mouth in a different configuration of some of the... I mean, I'll be absolutely upfront. I went to visit my mum at her nursing home at the weekend.
This
and
is based on your mother?
I talked to one of the... I talked to one of the old ladies that were there. And she talks literally just out of the side of her mouth.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was interesting, so that was a nice thing to kind of try. But it does come out that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But you definitely gave her age.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, how did you stand?
I was slightly stooped, one shoulder higher than the other,
Right.
and my head was on one side with the talking upwards out of the side of my mouth.
Right. Gosh. Wow. Okay. Fascinating.
So I did in try and inhabit her a bit.
Yeah.
Were you
That sounds
envisaging
wrong,
a
doesn't it?
woman?
No, as I say, a sexless kind
Sexless.
of old, but certainly very old though.
Yeah. You do a good old woman, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the first time that's ever been said.
Another string to your bow.
Yeah.
Hurrah!
Your talents are limitless.
Well, unfortunately, that's not true, Vic, because my talents are very limited. But there we go. It's like,
I'm
see.
going to have to work hard to get that characterisation out of my own head now.
Well, good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, Vic, let's see what you come up with, shall we?
Okay, right. I mean, I'm feeling a bit the same. I was so...
Yes,
I feel like...
we all do.
I'm just going to be this hooded lady in a cave. Okay. In a different time, when words were lit with lightning and history was carved from magic, there was a far-off land where stood a monument, a divine statue, golden and strange. At first glance, it seemed to be on the edge of a burial ground, guarding sarcophagi and long-forgotten tombs. But beneath it, there were no bodies to discover. No cadavers, no skulls, not a single bone.
You sent a shiver right down my spine then, and I'm not quite sure where it came from, but it's almost like the next line was going to be, "That was my tomb." And it's like, whoa,
was
okay. I really liked that, and yet it was quite warm. I think as the player, I would be invited to talk to you.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. I am sitting here thinking, why did they give me this part? There was so much to be got out of it by other people here.
I felt a bit Julie Walters when I started off for some reason.
There was a whole world in there, I felt.
Was it very slow as well? I tend to be quite slow.
It didn't feel too slow, and
Oh.
it kind of went
No, it
with the
didn't.
character you chose, actually,
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of wove as I say, you'll both be slightly underwhelmed with what I'm going to do then, because you wove a whole, kind of fabric of a person there, I felt.
But maybe that means that the director didn't want you to weave a whole... Maybe it was more basic than that.
It's just really interesting to hear other people take those words and do different things with them. It's incredible.
It always is, actually, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, very much
Yeah.
so. Well, I'm fascinated if we've gone almost too far in one
Yeah.
direction.
Well-
I'm interested to hear what you did do with it.
It was, the weird thing is, it was a lot more conversational. It was a lot more.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
so you're asking? It wasn't a kind of a moment. This person, my character, always spoke like this. Spoke many, many times about many, many different things. And this was just one conversation of many. There wasn't any particular storytelling element to it in that sense. So it was much more like almost quite a prosaic little convo.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll do what I did,
Yeah.
and it's just it's fascinating anyway. In a different time, when words were lit with lightning and history was carved from magic, there was a far-off land where stood a monument, a divine statue, golden and strange. At first glance, it seemed to be on the edge of a burial ground, guarding sarcophagi and long-forgotten tombs, but beneath it, there were no bodies to discover, no cadavers, no skulls, not a single bone.
It's a very different take, isn't it?
You see?
Absolutely, very different. It's like, Vic, our characters were right over there on the left, and Sam's was right.
Yeah.
It was in the centre here. I mean, I wonder if that just makes the fact that Sam's read was, I don't know, I felt it was almost more believable. Does that?
Well, I suppose it depends on context, doesn't it? Because for
Yep.
some games, you would
Yeah.
want the hooded crone in the cave.
True.
But obviously,
Absolutely.
but obviously
and
not for this one.
That's what's so fascinating. It was. I mean, as I say, I was almost reluctant to do it then because it felt so ordinary.
But it didn't come across. No, it didn't come. Ordinary is the wrong word, and I'm sorry if I used that. I don't mean that.
No, you didn't. It was more me, but
I think it brought it to a central point of, and everybody always says, you know, video games as opposed to animation, it's much more grounded in reality. It probably felt a much more real character talking to us.
Maybe, I don't know. The scripts that I had were full of these sort of chunky pieces of information that she was
Right.
giving. She, in and of herself, wasn't creating drama. She was giving bits of info that the player can use.
Yep.
I don't know. Is all I'm thinking is why they wanted it quite. I feel as though I've underplayed it now. So I've undergiven them what I should have given them.
Obviously not, because they hired you.
Yeah, don't be on the email tomorrow going, oh, I think I'd quite like another go at that.
Can I just say I absolutely loved the big pause that you gave before the word strange?
Do you know what? I did too, and I wonder, as the editor of this podcast, I wondered if she thought she'd gone wrong and was going to do that line again.
Oh, interesting.
It almost tipped over into, oh my God, what's happening now?
No, yes,
I
it was.
loved
It was a groping for the word within the. I don't mean. Obviously, I can see the words. Sorry. See, I can't read. No, but that I suppose that was the idea behind it.
It certainly worked, absolutely,
Okay.
and it made me prick my attention back up again.
Okay.
Are you ready to mix it up, girls? Are you ready?
Yes.
Because it's time for the wildcard bit of the show. Time to approach these scripts in a very different way, potentially.
Yes, absolutely it is. So, Vic, can you pick one of the scripts and give one of us, doesn't matter which, a new motivation or character?
Yes. So, Sam, I'll choose you because this is your script, and I'd like you to deliver it as though you are a disgruntled, cynical teenager.
Cynical. Ooh. Cynical as in...
Like the Catherine Tate teenager, like Lauren.
Oh, very good, yes.
Like the
Like
whatever.
that, sort of rolling your eyes.
That
All
sort
right,
of
then.
thing,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Gosh.
All right, then. Yeah, in a different time when worlds were lit with lightning and history was carved from magic, there was a far-off land where stood a monument. A divine statue, golden and, I don't know, sort of strange sort of thing. I mean, at first glance, it seemed to be on the edge of a burial ground, looked like it from a distance, but really, it was guarding sarcophagi and long-forgotten tombs. But beneath it, there were no bodies to discover. Yeah. No cadavers, no skulls, not a single bone. It was rubbish.
I thought you really warmed into it.
Yes.
And I tell you, the moment that I thought that happened, it was where you were suddenly so bored with a monument.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
lovely.
it was one of those ones where I started and thought, yeah, this isn't going how I wanted to do it. But instead of stopping, I just thought I'll just kind of change it.
And it worked. There was a
It did
pivot
work.
point and it worked. Yes.
And I particularly liked the last couple of lines. I was feeling your disdain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as you worked around the script rather than directly to the script, I think the character came out more and more.
Yeah.
Which actually is a good note, isn't it? Because if we're trying to find a character, if you like, and sometimes we do, don't we? Sometimes we're sort of thinking, either in an audition setting or even in a real setting, where you're sort of thinking, I wonder how we're going to...
Yeah.
It's working around it and maybe adding a few bits and bobs can help you
Absolutely.
get into it, even if you then go back and do the script correctly, as it were.
Yeah.
Vic, are you up for doing one?
I am.
I'm glad you said that, because if the answer was no, we'd be screwed.
No, I'm off. See ya.
I would like you to do script 1, Vic. So the one about Strep A. But I want you to be an overbearing bore of a woman.
Okay.
Maybe a local politician, perhaps.
Okay.
Getting annoyed that the mums you're talking to aren't listening. They may even be talking amongst themselves or playing on their phones, and you're getting more annoyed with it.
Okay. Gotcha. When your baby or child is unwell, it is a really worrying time. Sometimes it can be hard to know what to do, but it's important to trust your instincts and get the right help. Now, Strep A is a common type of bacteria that is found on the skin and in the throat. Most Strep A infections are mild and easily treated, but scarlet fever is caused by Strep A. It is usually a mild illness that is highly infectious. It causes a distinctive pink-red rash and flu-like symptoms, and is treated with antibiotics.
Antibiotics.
Oh, I can picture the look on your face when you stopped the scarlet fever line and went back to do it. It's like, oh, okay. She's upset now.
Weirdly, I felt a bit Julie Walters again.
Well, I mean, arguably, that's not a bad thing, is it?
If in doubt, I channel Julie Walters.
Well, quite. Why not?
I loved it. I loved the way you warmed into it, didn't you? Insofar as actually you started in a good place anyway, but you began to extemporise around her, which I really liked. Yeah.
All right. So Sam, you pick one for me now, I think.
I'd like you to do script 2.
Script 2, okay.
But I'd like you to be a timid train announcer.
Oh, wow. A timid train announcer with this. Okay.
So you can be timid or you can be thrust into the limelight by somebody, if you see what I mean. One or the other. Reluctant.
Yeah.
You're reluctantly doing it.
But a reluctant train announcer. On a train or at a station?
Oh, well, up to you, mate.
Oh, okay. Okay. Timid. Ladies and gentlemen, in a different time, when words were lit with lightning and history was carved from magic, there was a far-off land, platform 2, where stood a monument, a divine statue by the buffet, golden and strange. At first glance, it seemed to be on the edge of a burial ground, guarding sarcophagi and long-forgotten tombs. But beneath it, there was a delay, a long delay and a cancellation because there were no bodies to discover, no cadavers, no tickets, not a single season ticket to be found.
Aww.
You were definitely in the station, weren't you?
Do you know what? I thought I was possibly on the train to begin with, and then I morphed to the station. So yeah, that was me not really deciding, I think.
I could picture you in your old-fashioned station station master's hat
You're
and
so
coat
right.
with the glistening buttons. Yeah.
You're so right. You're absolutely right, Vic. In my mind, it was sort of, 1940s or something.
Yeah.
Some sort of, yeah. You're
Oh,
right.
I could have taken that. I could have taken that far more clipped. Then, in fact.
There you go.
There you go, exactly. Well, if you want to play in the privacy of your own booth, as I've said before, we've put the scripts in the show notes so you can have a try yourself. And we would love to hear some of them if you want to send them to us.
Yes. Now, Vic, so you have swapped more recently from doing lots of corporate and radio work
Yes.
into more animation and video game work. So was that accidental, or was it part of a sort of overall plan?
It was a grand plan.
Plan.
Yes, and I love it when a plan comes together. So I've been doing voiceover really for over 20 years, but it's only about 6 years ago that I set up my own studio. And when I set up my own studio, I thought that voiceover was adverts, documentaries, and it hadn't really occurred to me that you could be a voice actor and do all the wonderful acting things.
And you had been a stage and screen actor.
Exactly, yes. Generally I was a dog sitter, but yes,
As we've heard, yeah.
but yes, I did train as an actor. And I have branded is probably a grandiose term for it. But when I started out, I branded myself as voiceover Vic. And now I think of myself much more as a voice actor as opposed to a voiceover.
Yeah.
Because when I realised that I could actually do acting, it was just euphoria. I thought, oh my goodness, I can still do what my heart burns to do. So it was a grand plan, and I very much focused my marketing on it, my social media, and things started happening, and it's just wonderful, joyous.
And that presumably was it. I say as simple as I've only known you in the years that you've been doing more of the acting. So I always think of you actually as an animation actor and a game actor more than first and foremost. So that's how I sort of see you.
Thank you.
But from your point of view, I don't know, did it require quite a big shift to make it happen?
No, I don't think it did, because it only needed a shift in terms of the people that I was contacting and the content of my social media, because I had been emailing thousands and thousands of people anyway.
Did you have the reels though already? The acting kind of the animation and the games reels already?
No, so I had to get new reels. Actually, I'm going to get a new gaming reel in a couple of weeks. But no, so I had to get different reels, and change my focus. But I'd already very much got myself into the groove of self-marketing, so I just changed who I was marketing to.
And is that the authenticity that you would push other voice actors towards, if they're maybe working in areas that they're not as comfortable with?
Oh, I would always say follow your heart with it, definitely, because it's what fills you with joy, you know. If you want to be reading corporate scripts about technology and blockchain, then more power to you. But I always felt like I didn't know what the scripts were about. I felt like nobody wanted my accent. I was doing everything in RP. So when I felt more free to play with things and do character work, it was just a marvellous change.
Oh, Vic, well, thank you for coming on the show today. It has been a joy talking to you.
It has.
A reminder that all of Victoria Riley's details can be found in the show notes. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me. It feels like quite an honour to be here, and I really appreciate being asked, so thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. And don't forget, if you want to have a go at voicing those scripts, then they are also in the show notes, and you can go and have a practice.
You can. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks again to Victoria Riley. We will be back next week with more scripts and another voiceover guest when we'll be asking, this is where we do the name of the show all together, Vic, as ridiculously as you like. Are you ready? We'll be asking,
How do
you say
We're going to have to do that again.
Keep that in.
How do you say that?